So clear communication. This requires thinking and mastery of language. Talk about this quite a bit. The three roadblocks to clear thinking are emotion, history, and identity. So emotion, these are the feelings created by the stories in our head. History, this is our past and recent maybe traumas created by unexamined stories that run our central nervous system, that flight or fight response. And then identity, the way we actually see ourselves when we say, well, I'm the type of person that does this or does that. Those are identity-based statements. And these are roadblocks. Our emotion can block us from action. Our history can block us from clear thinking. And our identity can block us from being able to become what we're supposed to be, become greater. So I created the FAR framework. This is kind of a mental OODA loop. The OODA loop was created by an American fighter pilot to go through and make quick decisions during dogfights. So the FAR framework enables clear thinking and clear decision making. So on the other side of those roadblocks of emotion, history, and identity, we have feel, ask, and rebuild. Right? Feel, ask, and rebuild. So we're going to feel the feeling without identifying with it. It's important. When I was in the barracks there in Colombia, and I was actually on the phone with my wife. We were having a chat about goals and financial goals and things we would do when I got back. And all of a sudden, I felt anxiety. I felt anxious. I felt a little bit of fear, and I had been working on managing complexity in space enough to realize that this feeling wasn't appropriate for the topic, for what we were talking about. And so after the phone call, I went back to my journal, as I do, and I used it as a tool to monitor my thoughts. And I started to ask myself questions like, why was I feeling fear when I was talking about something that was positive? What maybe stories or what events happened in my past life that have created some sort of fear when I talk about money? And as I went through and asked myself questions and wrote answers, it's like my mind just served it up on a silver platter. And it showed me an event when I was a kid, and my father and mother, they were in charge of a large event called the Wild West Days in Arizona. And they had a state fair, they had a wagon ride across the valley there. It was massive, and celebrating Arizona's Wild West heritage. And I remember, this is a massive event. Remember, statewide event. I remember my dad's business partner, left town with the money from the event, with the finances, skipped town, left my dad holding the bag with all the debts and all of the people that were there working. And so here they are, all these people, these vendors that are now not going to get paid. And now they know it, and they're angry at my dad, and they're coming at him and making him responsible because the other guy left. And as a child, I remember I associated that as don't earn a lot of money or don't make a lot of money because people will be mad at you. And so this was served up to me in a moment in Colombia, in my barracks room as I was journaling. It came out of nowhere because I started to ask the right questions. And I found an event and a story in my past that was creating a feeling now today that wasn't serving me anymore. And so I said, is this working for me? Right, wrong, or indifferent, doesn't matter. Does this work for me now, today? I knew it didn't. So I went back and I said, well, what does work for me? Well, when I work with people, when I request money in exchange for services, I deliver maximum value. And I try to over deliver in my services and in a way that is impactful and life-changing. And so when I started to rebuild these beliefs, all of a sudden the fear went away. Now there was an opening and space for me to talk and think and feel about money in a positive light, no longer taking on the narrative and story from a child. And I almost felt like little Russ, seeing this thing happen. And I imagined this, and I felt for him, and I felt just kind of in a psychological way, I felt it's okay. That's how you saw that. It's no longer true for me. And I'm moving forward with this set of beliefs. And it was a psychological switch. And I instantly saw myself different. It was a change in identity that I no longer said, I'm the kind of person that feels fear around money. That was no longer my identity. And maybe I wasn't even consciously saying it before, but now I was consciously saying something different and choosing something different. So no longer was that software going to run in the background, that story. I now chose a new story, a new set of beliefs, and I was instantly different. So feel, ask, rebuild. Feel the feeling without identifying with it. Ask if the feeling is still helpful, and ask where it came from. And ask, is it still serving you? Really dig down. Ask yourself some of those deep soul searching questions. And then if it's not, rebuild a new belief using proof and new thinking. Using proof, what do I mean by that? Well, I had already seen that I could provide impact and provide value for people. So I knew that wasn't right. I juxtaposed it and compared it with proof. And I said that's no longer correct, and it doesn't serve me moving forward. So use proof. Look for proof in your past that the new belief is correct. So again, you want to feel the feeling, don't identify with it. Ask yourself. These are a set of questions that I would use to create feeling and awareness and disassociate from the actual feeling. Things like, is there an area where you know what to do but can't do it? That's a great question to ask yourself. If you know what to do but can't do it, you're feeling feelings of fear, then ask yourself why. I know what to do. Why can't I just do it? And if there is a feeling of fear behind it, that is a red flag, and that is an indicator that you need to dig down and find a narrative or story that's holding you back from massive action on that goal or that objective. And then rebuild. This is the logic levels framework from Robert Dilts, an NLP tool, which I've found is probably the greatest tool for personal development, for me anyways, in understanding where I need to work at what level for fast and immediate and long-lasting change. And so when you focus on the identity, use a journal to really dig down on the beliefs or values that you're currently running your life by. And if some of them aren't working, you rebuild those. And what is that going to do? That's going to open up capabilities or skills that you always had, but were closed off to you. It's going to open up new behaviors and upgrade your environment. That is the point of maximum impact when it comes to developing this this new you, if you will. So the FAR framework opens up new levels of influence that you can use with yourself and with others. So as I said, identity is king. We're going to talk about the mirror effect just briefly. The mirror effect is what you or your audience sees when you think of yourself, either positive or negative. It's how you see yourself. If you set a goal and you don't see yourself as the type of person that can achieve that goal, you won't achieve that goal. Like if your mental picture doesn't align with that goal, with achieving it, you won't achieve it until you can develop that picture of you in a natural way. Like, for example, like earning a lot of money, I never would have been able to move into that next level monetarily had I kept that old identity of, I'm afraid people will get mad at me when I make money, right? I had to break out of that and create a new identity, see myself differently. And that new self opens up new capacity. So you use your journal, use journaling tools and thinking to change your identity and open up new capabilities, skills, behaviors, and upgrade your environment. Identity is king. It's your ace card. So let's compare these two. We're going to move forward and talk about the UI, Unconventional Influence, UI, we'll call it, the UI conversion framework. So we have the logic levels framework on one side, UI conversion framework on the other. Besides both being like triangular in their shape, what do they have in common? They both use reflection and identity to create power and control, controlling the behaviors and the results for you and others. It is that mirror framework. If you control the mirror in how you see yourself, and then if you control the mirror and how others see themselves, whether positive or negative, you can have control and power in any engagement. You control the mirror, you control the change. And we're going to talk about how to do this in mass at the campaign level.